Happy Monday morning, everybody. This is IT Live. It's brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Texas Homer. Coach Dubs next to me. Down low, Eric Nalleen. We are going to talk about the Kentucky win and what that means going forward. Try to figure out more in depth what's up with this offense we got. You can go to Inside Texas and join for just $1 right now, guys. And if you scan that QR code, it'll take you straight to the page and apply that promotion immediately, and you'll be all good to go. All right, guys, we won. We won. And guys, did you know that Georgia struggled too?
Oh, yeah.
Kentucky, so therefore, all good.
Half the SEC loss, right?
Yeah. Let's not put the context in. The things we struggled with were things we struggled with in several games so far this year. Let's just act like it's a championship team that had an off day. All right. We know the issues with the offense. Eric wrote a good piece about larger systemic issues, and that's kind of what we'll talk through. I can throw it up on the screen if you want, Eric, or we can just chit chat because I know that the actual chat is going to have their opinions this morning.
Whatever you want to do. It's the thesis is that Arch is sort of the avatar for everything that's wrong with Texas football, which I don't. Arch has struggled. He played poorly on Saturday, played poorly against Ohio State, played poorly against UTEP. But the bigger issues are the coaches really screwed up the offseason. Then that's where most of the ire should go. It's really hard to evaluate Arch. Yeah, he's got to hit that mesh, and Sark should probably run mesh 10 times in a row until he hits it. He's got to hit those gimmies, but there weren't enough gimmies. Look at he was hitting them against Oklahoma when they had an actual offensive identity against Oklahoma. There was no identity on Saturday. So yeah, everybody's frustrated with Arch. I get that, the hype, but the traits are there, and he needs to be in a much better, healthier ecosystem. I mean, just look at what Kentucky's offense was for their quarterback. How is Kentucky's Bush Hamdan is their offensive coordinator? Does anybody even know who Bush Hamdan is? Probably the best football coach ever born in Kuwait City. He had a better offense, and he worked for Sarkisian for a year in Atlanta. He has a better offensive game plan for his quarterback than Steve Sarkisian and Kyle Flood. Kyle Flood's the OC had for Arch Manning, and that's just not. That's where the ire should be from fans and media critics more so than towards Arch. There's going to be plenty of time to rag on Arch if he keeps playing like that once things are eventually fixed. But you can't really, outside of him missing the gimmies, it's hard to grade Arch when he's got pressure in his face at all times and no run game.
Yeah, I'll follow that with the same thing, man. Arch took some hits. The same thing we praised him for against Oklahoma and Florida, taking some hits and pressure right in his face, man. Like, consistently to ask him to do that, it's tough. That's tough for anybody. I don't care who the quarterback is. And so, yeah, he got to get some hit the gimmies, but you got to help him out. I would like to see us build on the success we had versus Oklahoma. Like, run the ball. Looking at the all-22, we had holes and creases for the running backs. Decide on the RPOs, we decided to throw it each and every time, even when we had a numbers advantage inside, which I completely didn't understand. So you got to help out. I feel like your young quarterback and your young offensive line at certain parts up there, man. You just can't abandon what was working and say, you know what, I'm a play caller, I'm a genius, I'm gonna run what I want to run. Like, do what works. Just keep it simple.
Well, and Hamdan's game plan for Boley is what they've ran every game of the season.
Right.
So it's like that's what they do, right? So, and it's not like they're getting incredible results from it. They have worse offensive scoring than we do, and we'll talk about that later. But they know what they do. Hey, we give screens to Kendrick Law, we slip tight ends out for our explosives, and we run vertically with McGowan. That's what Kentucky offense is. That's what we do. So here's your reps. Nothing's changing. Here's the identity. Is it a great identity that's crushing teams? No, but you can never accuse Stoops of not having an identity for Kentucky. They always do. And so that's a little bit different. We grab bag and we're trying to play like an NFL style where your game plan does change week to week because you have the talent and because you have the full-time focus from everybody. But we are just carry too much stuff, and you don't really have to game plan at that level in college. You should have your identity and you should go forward with it. And then you should have wrinkles, but it shouldn't look like 1 week we're an outside zone team and the next week we're not. That's where it gets tricky. 1 week we're a vertical passing play action shot team, and 1 week we're a 4.2 ADOT. that's NFL. And so that's where it's a little bit tricky for me is that how are these guys going to understand what they're doing week to week? How can they really progress if every week they're becoming essentially a different offense or rotating between 3 different offenses every other game type of thing? So that's where it's a little tricky. With Arch, there's so many downstream factors, but what's strange with his play is, he'll roll out and hit a 3rd and 11 like a dot. And you're like, wow, there's the trait. That's what you hold on to, especially like in our industry, right? Like you're like, that's a trait. That's a trait, And then, but when you turn around and it's 2nd and 3, and here's Wingo wide open on a mesh, the play call's perfect, the design works perfectly, we miss it. So it's such a strange. It's like, and he'll make a pass with someone hitting him in the chin. It's almost like he needs this clock, or he needs this excitement or movement pressure to activate. It's very weird. It's very weird. And it's really hard to project when you've had, I think, 3 games under 50%, 57% completion out of, the 7 games you've played.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you do, man, because it's when one thing breaks, another thing breaks. And it really, the core is just the offense is a mess and has a ton of dysfunction at pretty much every level.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, all right. That was a good show. We will see you after Mississippi State.
Oh, my God.
Mississippi State's going to be an interesting one too, man. So I pulled up their scoring for the last 3 games, and it's last 3 because that's the SEC, right? So we're 105th in the country right now in scoring. So I don't know what you do. And the score versus Kentucky was handed to us by Niblett, and the previous score versus OU. Now, I do give them credit because they did drive the ball there, at least for that touchdown versus OU, but OU busted that coverage. If you watch the All-22, that was on OU. That wasn't really a genius move by Texas. It was smart to recognize it, but it wasn't super earned, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know and then the old moniker of like, well, the defense is going to have to keep us in it. Like, what does that mean? Like, defense is going to have to keep everyone under 13 because we're struggling to score 1 touchdown. How does this work going forward?
Yeah, be the Ravens, I guess, 2000 defense. Like, you score 7-9 points and then hope your defense can just shut everybody else out. It seems like I don't know. That's not a recipe for success.
Yeah, it's not even taking just the defense. The defense has been great, but now it requires special teams help to get a win. That's true. You need to win 2 of the 3 phases very convincingly to have a chance. That's crazy.
Well, and if you need that from Niblett every game, he might be the greatest college returner of all time if he has to do that every game. So that's not likely that he's the greatest college returner of all time. So,
well, Shipley's doing his part too, but eventually he's going to miss an important kick if you're relying on it too much. You saw too much. We saw that a lot during the Herman era, where the margins were too close, and the probability steps in, and you're going to lose some of those close ones. So don't let them be that close. Yeah, they got problems, man. But we'll see. It's one bounce back game. I think we're very clear eyed that this is not a team that's going to really threaten for the conference. They're just too up and down. But if they beat Mississippi State, we'll be feeling a little bit better, and then they got a chance to the current number 10 team will come into town, and then they have a bye after that. So I've got a friend that knows a lot about football that thinks the schedule actually sets up pretty well for Texas, but he also understands that this team is up and down, and he's probably expecting a bounce back game against Mississippi State.
Well, we'll see if the messaging this week, I mean, that's what I was fearful of. We'll see if they can harness the no one believes in us nonsense again.
But they're blocking that out.
Yeah, of course. They're blocking that out, dude. So we'll see if they do that game again, because that only works once. But unless you're Georgia, they can do it on call.
Yeah.
Right. But let me see this week what the messaging is. Hey, no one believes in us. Okay, we're going to come out, beat Mississippi State. Now we feel confident. Now we're going to go lose again. It's but there's no way to project an offense where the quarterback can go for 44% multiple times in a season. And so there's no floor here to project on.
Yeah. I think, and we're going to be stuck in this point. It's going to be a very, very. I'm not there yet because there's a lot of guys playing hard. It's not like I'm not on the season yet. I mean, it's probably going to change with another bad loss with an offensive performance similar to that. We're going to have to start looking towards the offseason, but. There's no savior within the season, but it is going to be a very, very, very important and very interesting and very active offseason on many fronts.
It's you're gonna have to. Paul said it best. You're just gonna have to meet this team where they are to enjoy your season, right? Like,
Yeah.
have your appreciation for the defense. I like watching that all 22. That's fun. So just you're gonna have to totally change your mindset from coming into this season, or else you're gonna be pulling your hair out type of thing. So you just need to understand the offense is dysfunctional. They'll probably have a couple of good games, and then they're gonna have some more where you're just devastated. Yep. But just hey, man, this is a defensive team. It's been a defensive team. Kind of focus on that.
To answer that question that's up on the screen right now, Eric, is your friend's name Ian Boyd? No, that was the many of you guys will remember Jesus Shuttlesworth from Inside Texas fame. That's so he's still paying attention to football, and that's his thought. And but him and Ian I could see how they would be pretty similar in thinking. I'm kind of there too. I think if they beat Michigan State, Mississippi State, they could probably beat Michigan State. If they beat Mississippi State, then they're home for the first time since like September 20th, and that crowd should be energized. I think it's an 11 o'clock game, unfortunately, but that's going to be the first home game since September 20th. So, and then you have a bye week, and then we can pretend that the Georgia game is like super meaningful.
Yeah.
Oh man,
hearing people call for Caldwell over Arch is wild. What do y'all think?
What do you do? What are you trying to get Arch to transfer, break his confidence? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense
at all.
Get him an offensive line, get him a run game, and then let's talk about do the blame game on the quarterback. This is what I'm saying though. People are assigning blame in the wrong place. Yes, Arch does have issues. Yes, he is missing too many gimmies. He needs more experience. But he has stuff that you cannot teach. He has stuff that you're only seeing on Sundays. Some of these throws are ridiculous. He's got toughness, which you see on Sundays. He's got dual threat athleticism and a tight end build. He's got a lot of things that you just cannot teach. So let's get the guy an offensive line and a run game. Sark is in year freaking 5, and he doesn't have a downhill run game. Okay, that's the problem. He will tell you every time he talks about offense, we are a run first team. He will tell you that until he's blue in the face. And they don't have any of the pieces required to run the ball. They don't have blocking tight ends that are good enough. They don't have any. They have got one offensive lineman that can pull off that scheme right now, DJ Campbell. And so if it's year 5 and he can't run his offense, and the reason he can't run the one piece he does have to run the offense is the quarterback that can hit the deep ball. Okay. But they don't have the run game that draws in the defense to allow that.
Yeah, speaking of his toughness, I don't know how many other quarterbacks actually get up. That free blitzer from the linebacker came and just lit Arch up. The way he just popped back up, like he shrugged it off. And then in overtime, the sideline QB sweep, he got decked again, but he just pops up again. Like, I follow behind that dude each and every time, man. You know what I mean? That's a leader. That's a dude that's really strong-willed and like, you know what? This doesn't faze me. I'm a big guy. I can take the hits and keep rolling. Every other quarterback couldn't do that. I promise you.
I don't know. He looks pretty rough in post game, man. Like he was looking pretty down on himself. Shoulders were kind of hunched in a little bit.
He needs to sit up. He needs to sit up. Like I said in that group chat, Taff is sitting there sitting straight up. Taff would give up a 99-yard bomb to lose the freaking national championship, and he would sit up straight and answer your questions. Arch got to, show some freaking spine, dude. He's got to. That's more concerning than missing a mesh for the 10th.
That's what I was going to say. You're starting to see it weigh on Arch a little bit, and just physically getting small in the presser, and there's a lot of weight on him, and I'm starting to see the effects that it's having. So I don't know what you do. And man, the defense were fired up, man. Like the defense were not having it with the media. Taff, barked back. Colin Simmons have that clip that went viral. It's like, we're all a team. But the reality is you wouldn't, and they're like, that's culture. But it's like they also wouldn't need to do this if things were going right.
Yeah, let's bring this super chat up so we can tell the class what the word sophistry means. We are literally saying Arch has to hit those throws, Don. Literally saying it.
Open wide receiver, fans and media. Sark needs to scheme something easy for Arch. Where's this narrative coming from about Sark play calling?
Well, I think you remember some obvious misses. There's not nearly enough of that play calling. Are you saying he could be calling the exact same plays that Kentucky's calling, very high percentage throws, and build an offense around it like Kentucky has? Kentucky has a full offensive identity built around that. Sark is all over the place. And look at the OU. Did the OU offensive game plan look like the Kentucky offensive game plan in any way? No, it did not.
And there's no question. Arch needs to hit the mesh. Arch needed to hit injuries on that open one. There was one where he turfed it to Jordan Washington right over the middle. It's particularly bad in all 22. You're like, how do you miss that? Like that high schoolers make that throw. So there was plenty of that, but there's also plenty on the tape where you'll see that we're running 2-man concepts or 3-man concepts a mile down the field, and it's incredibly well covered, which is also a factor, right? Like Kentucky covered us pretty well on a lot of stuff. It's not there. And then Arch has the offensive line. It's like, it's both. Arch needs to complete the easy give-me's that Sark will give you, but also Sark has to work with what he's got. He can't keep trying to force this idealistic system on an offense that can't perform it.
Yep.
That's the big factor. I didn't see maximum effort nor emotion on offense all game. Seemed more business-like. That's not CFB.
Well, you compare it to the OU game, and that's what I said. They're not going to ever play with that emotion in that game. I mean, that game is just different than every other one. So it's unfortunately they can't bottle that and replicate it every time they go on the road.
But we tried to warn about it 50 times, and so did Sark. And so it's like, but that's also just unfortunate because everyone kind of saw that coming. And not at that scale, but everyone was like, hey, let's talk about it a lot. Let's ask it in media presser. Let's talk about it on videos. And to still have it happen is where it's frustrating. And my thing with Sark is more global, right? We've been in 3rd and longs for 3 years. Okay. We've been 90th or below in red zone for 3 years. Okay.
They can't run the ball. And then, a lot of times, not all the time, a lot of times they ran the ball on first down more often than not, I think, on Saturday. But a lot of times he's taking that low percentage deep shot early in the series and you're out now it's 2nd and 10 because you just tried a very low percentage pass play. That didn't happen a lot on Saturday necessarily, but it's happened a lot during the Sark era.
Yeah. But that's my thing is, look, this is not new. Our play sequencing issue is not new. It was masked a little bit by talent last year, but we got exposed this year and people are seeing it more. But if Sark knew how to fix red zone and 3rd and longs, he would have done it one of these 3 years. And the media was getting onto him for red zone as well. Got onto him for red zone, and he would get mad at the media this offseason. So why can't he fix it?
3rd and 3 and a double reverse pass. 3rd and 3.
Yeah. So it's like, what do you do at this point? Because these are consistent issues. The offense has never been set up for success. It's always been 3rd and long for these quarterbacks. They can't finish drives. They drive okay with their random explosives and their give-me's in the past years, but those aren't there this year. What do you do? What do you do if you're Sark? How do you solve these offensive issues legitimately?
You solve them in December.
On the place. Yeah, the opening script having a reverse pass was not in my bingo card. I was like, I knew what type of time Sark was on when that happened. And, in the opening script, I was like, no, not again. Come on, man. Get out your own way. That's what you're thinking in your head because I was like, I see the way this game is going to go. Like, just line up and run the ball. You got 3 yards. Go get it. But you're taking it away from your offensive line. No continuity, no build on success that you had last week. Like, that's a chance for those guys to go earn that. Get those 3 yards, run the ball. It's like, yeah, we're going to dominate you all day. But I thought he took that moment away from him.
My issue is the design. So the point of a reverse is to make people change direction. Okay, so the ball gets handed off on the single reverse, taken back, and then dropped back off to Arch where the play originated. That doesn't make any sense. That defeats the point of a reverse or a double reverse because no one had to move.
Well, they're trying to get the DB to lose his eyes, and he was just had his.
They were in cover 3.
Yeah, he was just running with his assignment.
Yeah, it was cover 3, so they just dropped into their zone. That doesn't even work.
I know. Yeah, it was weird. That reminded me of the Herman era there.
So that's where the design of it is where I hate those style plays anyways, not even for a trick. I just not a reverse guy. But now you've doubled the reverse on me. Now I'm double mad about what you just called. All right, before we keep going, guys, let's hear a word from Academy.
Any gate. can be a tailgate.
All right. You purchased the roster. Where'd you get that hoodie? I don't know, man. Probably a Walmart 8 years ago. That's kind of my move, dude. Can talk.
No, that's Nike, dude. Or is that like Mikey?
Oh, man. Oh, no. Shout out grandma, dude. Grandma for Christmas. Signature move. Get me some type of like UT hoodie. And so I got a bunch of them. Shout out grandma. She does it every year. Really appreciate grandma. Love her a lot.
Tennessee Co-op. You got it at the Tennessee Co-op.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah. That is not a play call against an elite defense, not Kentucky. Another thing, too, is, man, these defenses keep outperforming their metrics significantly.
That's hard.
And repeatedly. And
you talked about it on pregame, how low they were ranked. I was like, we're going to run the ball. We're going to kill these dudes, like just running right at them. And then we don't do that. It's like, man, and then to see them, they give up explosives. And then, like, they don't give up any versus us. Like, what is this? Like, it's like it's like an offense. Every time we play a team, they do something completely different than what they've done versus everybody else when they play us. And it's like, oh man, come on, what are we gonna see here?
They're in the 90s in sack rate, and then all of a sudden, they're landing 3 sacks. Florida did it. Kentucky did it.
Oh yeah. What was Florida's pressure rate was horrendous until that game, and then Billy Napier got a lifeline until the Mississippi State win. Did you guys see that? 3 coaches in the last 5 years got fired after beating Mississippi State.
I saw a Mississippi State fan. She was like, they beat my team and fired the coach, shaking my head like it's just rough out. But that was also it's really cruel how they're doing it, because it came out in the media the whole week before that basically like you're going to be fired after Mississippi State, which psychologically is tough, man, just for a human being. And then the media is asking him like pregame, and they're like, how do you feel? It could be over for you. And he's like, I think about the players and stuff like that. But I'm like, just psychologically to know that it's coming no matter what, that is such a strange dynamic that we're doing.
Yeah, that's rough, man. It is brutal. Everyone's like, well, they make a lot of money. Man, nobody wants to fail. Anyway, you're back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, I lost you for a sec. All right.
Gosh. And then they do Norvell like that too.
Oh man.
And then they come out and say today that he's going to end up that they have full faith in him.
Yeah. I saw one of his former coaches. I wonder if he sent out an email saying, hey, you've been fired. I have to tell me you have nothing to worry about, like he does everybody else when he fires assistants. I guess I don't know. Everybody had some bad karma on Norvell, man. I don't know.
Well, now it's becoming a trend. Like they're all hopping on it, like to just fire their coach. It's a different world, man.
Yeah, this year, I mean, I would, if you can buy another year, next year's hiring cycle is going to be, you're going to get a lot better candidate next year if you're one of these middle of the road schools than this year.
I agree, because there's not enough good coaches to go around right now, right?
Right.
So someone's going to have to make like a Cignetti hire, like you're going to have to make a astute lower level hire, but that's not what fans want. So a lot of them are going to go with the popular hire, like, Lane to Florida, which can be a problem, right?
Yeah, you don't
know.
want
Lane's going to do well. Lane will do anywhere that has NIL. Lane will do well. I don't know if he's a good enough coach to get over the hump. But man, and you're going to keep Lagway, and Lagway's talented, and you're going to keep those wide receivers if you get Lane. That's kind of the thing. But here's the thing, that Lane knows he's the only guy on that list. That blank check, we'll see what Florida really means by a blank check, because they're they have Lane Kiffin has, and his agent has all the leverage in the world. That guy's in a good spot.
So this is some beneficial stuff, right? That all these coaches are getting fired in a off season where Texas is going to be in the market very heavy. So that, I think that sets up well. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, we should probably just talk about like the approach, because names are going to change with every new coach that gets fired. If Lane goes to Florida, there's eventually going to be the portal is going to open up at Ole Miss. So it's not just Florida that you're looking at. You're also looking at Ole Miss. Now, Lane is probably going to keep whoever he wants from that, but you can also pry guys away. But it's more about having a plan in place. Obviously, they've got to go heavy on OL. The first thing they should do is the very first offensive lineman that they think improves their roster for next year, they should take. And I'm talking about the OL equivalent of Cole Brevard. Get you at the OL equivalent of Cole Brevard and start setting your floor. You need competition. We talk about the lack of starters this year at Texas. They didn't even have competition. We weren't even covering competition. How are people getting better without competition? You've got competition everywhere across the board on defense. The whole iron sharpens iron thing is real. It's real in real life. It doesn't matter what line of work you're in. And they didn't have any competition. So bring in some guys that set the floor and compete. Wide receiver, I would be highly, highly selective at wide receiver. I think the wide receivers are lower down the list of what's wrong. Running back, they do need to find a good, expensive running back. They need to retool that whole room. So it's going to be an extremely, extremely interesting offseason. And, there's probably going to be a coaching change or two. There's going to be a ton of portal needs. Luckily, they're not going to need a ton on defense, so they can go a lot harder. They can go towards offense like they went towards defense last year.
Not naming names, of course, but do you think we'll see a lot of exports, roster churning type of exports on our side?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to work out to where the guys they want to keep that were underperforming, they're going to probably try to renegotiate with them, and those that were underperforming and don't want to renegotiate, they'll say thank you. Every situation is going to be different. There are some guys that are overpaid. You pay these guys based on high school, and that can get really expensive. And then when you don't meet expectations, you've got to rethink things. So, it's going to be a very interesting thing. Like whoever is actually doing the GM stuff there, I guess it's a combination of Sark and Brandon Harris. They're going to have to have a lot of sessions where they're basically doing money ball in some cases, but then also saving money to go really big in free agency in others.
I'll say money balling so you can afford the big names too.
Big names, yeah.
It'll be a mixed strategy. I wanted Ahmad Hardy for running back. Drew?
Uh-oh.
You're speaking to the right guy here.
Yeah.
I did the ULM breakdown. Go watch it. What I say about Ahmad Hardy. He's going to be a baller and at a Power 5.
Yeah.
Not everyone has that vision like me and you, Drew, but, good eye there, Drew. But
he'll give you Mario Craver too, Homer.
Mario Craver as well as somebody.
Another one.
But
well,
dude, Ahmad Hardy was so easy to scout. You watch ULM, and you're like, who the hell is that? Because he's the only one that's moving at a speed that you're like, okay. So it's really easy to pick him out.
Let's see this. Bring up this as foretold.
Texas is in big danger of players hitting the portal.
Who?
That's a little bit of my fear, right? Like if the offense becomes so dysfunctional that you have
who's leaving?
I don't know, but my fear is just the human nature of this, that you have a player that's frustrated, wants to go to an immediate contender. Because what if next year's rebuildy, right? And so some big name comes out and says, hey, man, you got a year before you go to the NFL. We'll pay you X, and then you'll go.
No,
and you can compete.
Dude, the rebuilding is not really a thing if you have the capital, which Texas does. They're going to just reload right away. Kentucky, I think 4 of Kentucky's offensive linemen, they got out of the portal.
Yeah, but we didn't do it this year. So it's like I know
right.
they want.
But you're going to bring in 3 offensive linemen that have a combined 12 years experience in college football. I mean, you can fix things in a hurry.
You can. It's just I lost a little faith, guys, because we should have done it.
I mean, it's literal information that they're going to bring in offensive linemen. I mean, you can see that plain as day. It's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of changes. I don't want to be too forward with the changes that are going to happen because they're still recruiting and all kinds of other implications. But there's going to be some guys that leave that fans will probably be, oh no, what happened? But it's going to be more by design than anything else.
Is high school recruiting becoming a little bit risky?
It is. If you have to, because some of these positions are like you got to spend a lot for an offensive tackle, but who wants to play a true freshman offensive tackle? I mean, look how talented Michael Fasusi is, and you don't really want to do that. So, Tech has all this money tied up in Felix Ojo. Let's say he's a 3-year player. Well, he's not going to really start looking like a 3-year player until a year and a half into his tenure. So, but you're spending a lot of money for that first year and a half. So you are burning through capital on some of these positions that require time to develop. Offense, any position that's cerebral and requires time to develop, you're just going to have to take the loss for a year or two. Tyler Atkinson's going to be really freaking good, but what can they do with him next year outside of just pointing him in the right direction and telling him to be fast and athletic? He's not going to really know how to play linebacker on a college level yet. He won't have to because he'll have Ty Anthony Smith and Leon Lafau ahead of him. But those positions that take time, that take experience to acquire, you're just going to have to understand that you bite the bullet, you're going to lose some money. Having Brandon Baker sit on the bench for a year was expensive, and now he's still not cheap, and he's taking his lumps this year. He's coming around. Yeah. But that's part of it. You have to be smart about how you allocate your money. There's a couple guys on the roster right now that aren't pulling their weight relative to how much they make, and those are the guys that might have a high profile based on recruiting, but it won't be a loss when it comes to the financials.
Yeah, it's a lot harder for those guys in the trenches, man. You're competing against a grown man versus somebody out, a skill player like Jermaine Bishop can come in. He can play as a freshman, right? It's a little different with those skill sets. You can see those guys fitting in and playing right away, but up front, you never know what you got until they actually get out there and go against other grown men. That's the hardest part.
Justice Terry, very, very, very expensive player to get. And so you just bite the bullet because you're going to need him next year, and he has a chance to be a true difference maker. So there's certain it ties back into what we was talking about, scarcity. And that's usually the bigger guys, D linemen, offensive linemen. And then quarterbacks, you got to bite the bullet too because they need time in the system.
Sark has done very well retaining top players. I assume most anyone leaving might have been shown the door.
I still don't think I'd have to go back through it. I don't think they've lost a single player they tried to keep. Now, I was, after the semifinal loss to Ohio State, I think it was going haywire behind the scenes. And they were able to keep everybody in the boat with it. There was like 5 or 6 guys that were, fairly close. This year they might lose a guy that's a starter or two, but they'll be in search of upgrades and repurposing money to win now. They're going to focus on winning next season, like you haven't seen before, and that's going to go. We'll see that manifest on the offensive line, probably running back. And just making sure, I don't think they're going to go all in on defense like they have been necessarily, because you can have a top 15 defense and win a national championship. Mm-hmm. But you've got to have a good offense. He cannot have any questions going into next season on offense. That's the whole key to the drill there, like as he likes to say. And,
I'd like to grab a number 1 receiver, proven too. That would be something that I want.
Maybe so. You would probably have to trade one. You'd probably have to trade somebody for that. I don't mean trade like literally, but free up some money in some way. They do have some dead cap in that room a little bit. They could change some things up.
Yeah. Because I want to remove all doubt.
They're not going to bring in a guy like Cam Coleman, Blake Bryant. I mean, Cam Coleman's going to want like $2.5 million for 1 year, probably. That ain't happening. It ain't gonna be Ryan Williams. It's not gonna. That's what they were really good at. What they were really good at was finding guys that were on the come up. Adonai Mitchell. They knew Adonai Mitchell was a stud. Yeah. They knew Matthew Golden was a stud. So that maybe they didn't. They thought Isaiah Bond was better at first, but they find these guys. That's what they really need to find the next guy that's going to be an early round draft pick that wasn't. And they thought they had him this year. Chris Bell at Louisville, right? That guy. They kept waiting for him to go into the portal. We were waiting on him for 6 months. And I don't know if you guys saw him play the other night. That guy's a stud. So they're good at kind of finding that guy that's going to take that next step.
Paying true freshmen reminds me of the old NFL paying first-year quarterbacks crazy money. Would it be better if you weren't allowed to pay them until year 2? I mean, it probably would be better. But
it wouldn't be better for you if you were one of those players.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, sure, for on that side, but that's just not a legal option. But it is tricky, man, like getting to these points where you're paying all these guys purely for potential. They won't all reach that potential. It's just a numbers game there too. So it is tough, man. I'm becoming less of a high school. Like if I was GM, I'd be much more looking in the portal just because there's so many factors. Going to college, the kid can't handle that environment or the system or whatever. Just it's becoming a lot safer of a bet.
Well, you're evaluating college players going against college players as opposed to high school players going against bad high school players.
Yeah.
Just make sure you got some fine lines in the contract saying, hey, look, if you don't perform in year 1, you're gonna renegotiate. I mean, a ton of teams do that already anyway, right? Hey, we promise you X amount of dollars, but when you get here, you really didn't live up to that. All right, we're gonna reduce it. So, I mean, that's the only way I think you can kind of fix that.
Yeah, luckily Goosby's back, so they don't have to worry about a left tackle. It's going to be pricey anyways, but that would be hard to find and pricey.
With only one transfer portal window, how might that affect how Texas recruits in the portal? Do they get more aggressive? Do they chase?
Well, I wouldn't even worry about the window because there's going to be so much variance with all the coaching changes when those schools rosters open up to transfer. That window is going to be in January. They better have a damn good idea of what their offensive line is going to look like in December, well before January. If they're just getting active in January, that's too late. I don't think that's going to be the case.
All right, before we keep going, guys, let's hear from Andre the Lawyer.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results: Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
Injuries hasn't had the impact we thought due to quarterback play. Why can't Townsend get any targets? It's really hard to evaluate any of the pass catchers. The times that they did target injuries and gave him good passes, he scored 2 touchdowns. Yeah. And then he disappears from the game plan a couple times. Then when he is in the game plan, it's a little bit, and Arch misses the throw. It's dysfunction, man.
Well, there's a disconnect in his question here, right? Arch isn't hitting injuries, so make him miss Townsend too.
Yeah, that's why Townsend's not getting it, because it doesn't make it.
The thing with Townsend is Townsend didn't get to school until June, so he's not on the same page on the passing concepts as Andrews. Now Andrews got there late too, but Andrews is an experienced college football player. Emery Winston is ahead of Townsend as far as understanding the offense as a receiver. They're getting Townsend on the field in ways they can. He can use his physicality and just go out there and be a brute. This offseason, you're going to see Townsend take a big jump as far as becoming a receiver. That's in the plans, but right now he's not as far along as a receiver as the other guys.
Yeah, look, you can see Townsend when he got in the game. You can see Arch and other players kind of even telling him the plays when he got in on Saturday. But I'll stand on the table for Townsend, man. I think he's going to be the most complete tight end that came to Texas in a long time, man. That kid has all the tools to be special.
Yeah, a real tight end.
Yeah,
that blocks, not a big slot receiver. I've been harping on that for 3 years too. I don't know why they take that style of player so often, but offensive line, same thing. Ended up with 18 pressures again this week. PFF attributed all 3 sacks to Nick Brooks. Goosby didn't have a good game, but if you watched all 22, Goosby's not a good game was in direct correlation to left guard. So they would run a stunt, and Goosby would assume this guy would get picked up, and then he doesn't, and then Goosby's doing that. So it's like the problem is too those lines are so intertwined that when your guy next to you is messing up, now it makes you mess up. And so there was just, if you watched all 22, it's the same thing. They're bringing a guy from the C to the A gap. We picked it up versus OU.
We did.
And then we don't pick it up. It doesn't even make sense. It'd make much more logical sense if they just never picked it up. But to be able to do it one week with the exact same stunt and not do it the next, I just don't know what's going on there, Coach. You watched the All-22 as well, so what'd you think?
I was saying the exact same thing. I thought Oklahoma maybe was more predictable because they run the exact same in tackle stunt, but they run it with bigger guys too. They can't move as well. Where Kentucky has some smaller edges kind of cutting in, and I thought they ran it a better job. But it's hard to prepare for stunts for a young guy like Nick Brooks. He hasn't seen it much, man. You asking him, you got a brand new center in there, or they communicating, or they sliding the right way. It's a lot of things happening up front. I thought Kentucky just did a great job showing a different style of stunts up front and kind of confusing Nick Brooks on what he was actually seeing. Versus OU, mostly a 3-down lineman, but they're doing it with 300+ pound guys trying to run stunts. So it happens a lot slower with bigger guys, and Kentucky had a lot of speed coming at him. I think that's the only difference. But preparing for that, it's hard for a young guy, man. I challenge anybody to go up there and try it. It's not easy to pick up a stunt. This is what his second game's truly starting, right? At left guard. It's not third. It's not easy, man. It's not easy.
They were also Kentucky's wrinkle is, you're right, they were sending safeties and linebackers on it. And so they were shooting these really fast. So the big guy would just take Brooks open. I mean, the A gap is huge, dude. And then they would just send a guy from the edge, or they would fire. So they were also sending a lot of speed instead. That was a wrinkle we hadn't seen as much. And especially with the new center communication and all of that. But man, it's tough. And if you notice where all the games being run, they're only being run to that left side of the line. I mean, they're not running them on Campbell. And I want to give shout out to Campbell, man. He's had a good season. Like he had a little bit of weird effort early on, but as far as like getting his job done and stuff, Campbell's having a good season. And he's fun on the All-22 because you get to see him talking to people after the play very often. And he just freaks little linebackers out. He's like face mask to face mask with them, saying something all game. So it's pretty tough. Nick Brooks is a tackle, should not be playing guard. He's also a freshman. Yeah, it's just you're gonna have to quick pass, man. You're gonna have to quick pass. Let's talk defense, man. Let's give them some props. They played a ton of plays, and Anthony Hill had a great game. PFF graded him harsh. I'm like, I don't care, PFF, on that one. Like, I watching the All-22, he was just the one your eye was drawn to the whole game. Whether it was if something went wrong, he was communicating to people. He was just dominant in the middle. He made plays. I thought Hill had his best game of the year so far. What'd y'all think?
You know what? Watching him on film, like he looks like he's moving faster than everybody when you watch All-22. He's everywhere. He's not even playing like traditional Mike. He's playing outside. The play he made in the curl flats on the interception, like that was awesome to see, right? I thought he was going to have a scoop and score, but it seemed like we couldn't fall on the fumble to save our lives Saturday. That's crazy. But yeah, Anthony Hill was all over the field. Him and Michael Taft, like the two fastest players, like they were Energizer bunnies on the field, man. All over the field. But yeah, shout out to the defense. I think that crowd about Colin Simmons is growing quieter each Saturday. He continues to show up and make plays in the run game, and he's getting sack numbers. So I don't know, man. I was happy to see Trey Moore ball out too. I thought we used him a lot more at edge, and then see him cover in space, covering the drag routes and crosses. Man, that was special to see. That was good to see for him.
Colin had a sack one play where he dropped back. He was dropping back. Saw the quarterback roll out and still got the sack. I'm like, all right, don't see that every day.
They were using him in an interesting way this game. They've been doing that, making him drop. And sometimes, I mean, he's out in the flats. There's one play where he's on the sidelines defending something. They're turning him into a full kind of Sam.
Yeah.
And he's doing a lot more stuff. I know people get mad. Like, he's a pass rusher, make him pass rush.
Yeah.
But they're getting him ready for the NFL, man. You're giving him a full – the teams are going to like that he can do all of this stuff, right? Because then you can turn him into that mobile kind of linebacker that can go hang out in the A-gap, do this, drop back.
Yeah.
Like, as far as skill set-wise, they're giving him really good tape to show you all that he can do, opposed to just saying he's just a pass rusher. So I thought that was a big factor. Also, too, with some of their vertical runs they were getting, it wasn't so much that they were, like, getting a ton of push on us. It was just sometimes our gaps – by alignment would be open. So, because when I was watching it from broadcast, you can't tell if they're just getting pushed off the ball or kind of what it is. But I didn't think it was like a Florida thing when they had their vertical success of kind of getting knocked. You could see from the end zone that it's just like, oh, how we lined up that play, they exploited that. So
our guys aren't understanding what PK is doing with dropping Colin on some occasions in the comments here.
Because he can do it, man. And he's undercutting flat routes. He's doing all these things. If you know exactly where Colin Simmons is going to be, you can neutralize him with tight ends. You can neutralize him running away from him. There's ways to X out ends, but if you are not sure where he's going to be, there's more advantage there.
It causes a lot of confusion for the quarterback. It slows the quarterback down. Yeah, and you bring pressure from different places, and they've got a lot of guys that can bring pressure from all over. Who's their worst pass rushing linebackers? Probably Leonga, and he's still very athletic in that regard.
And he can still shoot a gap too.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah.
Shout out Manny on his sack too.
Yeah, that was awesome.
They should have known something was up. Manny's suddenly guarding the slot receiver and Michael Taft's guarding an outside receiver. You should have immediately been like, what is going on there?
He got in there quick, man. He looked really athletic on that play.
Yeah, he did. And he made that sack. And he had a good game too, man. They test him on the perimeter pretty often, and he's done well there. There was an edict to try to go after Gilbo as well. You could tell. Yeah. And Gilbo did a good job too, man. you can kind of tell whenever they go for a game plan thing there, but coverage was really good too. Like on the downfield stuff, you couldn't see on the broadcast. We had most of that covered up. The thing is, though, we kind of have a no cover zone when we drop in zone, meaning that we don't defend, 5 yards from the line of scrimmage. It's by rule, you rally and tackle. And so that's where they were hitting all those screens, because by design, you give it up, right?
Yeah.
And then they don't have that ability once they get in the red zone because the space is condensed. So it's not just like they were getting beat in coverage. It's a design of the defense. So that's how they were able to do it. But they did do well laterally, man, side to side. They found a good job finding the zone. It's a good idea to try to spread out the Texas defense there if you can do it, and hit them laterally, because you're not going to be great at hitting them vertically.
Yeah, that's the best way to do. You want to spread them out, which is why surprising Kentucky thought, oh, we're going to play bully ball, early in the game on the first drive and overtime. I was like, what are you thinking? And that is not going to work. But hey, good luck.
Yeah. And the only time I got upset with the defense is on that end of fourth quarter. I'm like, you can't let them get it into the, and we've had a problem with that a little bit. They also did that at the end of half, by the way. They were able to drive down at the end of the half too. So a little bit of like awareness there. We've seen that, in some losses in previous seasons. Now, everybody's like, because they're in prevent. No, they're not in prevent, guys. A too high safety does not mean that they are in prevent. I mean, I hear that all the time, and it's wrong 95% of the time. So it's not, we were not in prevent. There's just something, and I check for it, because I know I'm going to get that silly counter every time, but we do need to work on that. But bone up in the goal line after showing on the first drive, do not do that after 86 plays. That's huge for the defense. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I think my only critique of the game was they probably could have done a better job getting off perimeter blocking. That was pretty much my critique of the defense. Yeah, they're not perfect. They gave up too many. I thought there was too much easy yardage, like you said, at the end of each half. And that's a problem. But yeah, they weren't in prevent. Somebody asked what the over-under for Collins sacks should be. I think he put it at 12 or 12.5. He's got 5.5 in the last 2 weeks, so he's just heating up. And if you guys remember, it was this time last year when Trey Moore started to heat up. Remember, Trey Moore was getting a lot of criticism last season, so he might be heating up too. I think the pass rush is only going to get better, and they've got so many bodies they can throw at it. Defense is in a good spot. They don't even need to be this good for Texas to win a national championship. They just need a good offense, and they're just
they're going to have to be, though.
Well, yeah, they're going to have to be good just to get 8-9 wins.
That's why I'm going to be frustrated when people get mad at the defense for that game where they do go up 20 like a human being. They're going to be mad at the defense. It's like, it's not going to be the defense. I would have gone for it if I were Stoops on fourth. What did y'all think about Stoops going for it there? I have no problem for them going for it there. I would have selected a different place.
Absolutely, yeah, they should go for it, because I doubt Texas was going to score a touchdown. Right, Texas needed to be on the 5-yard line to score a touchdown. Thinking about having to come all the way from the 25 would be almost impossible. So yeah, I think that was smart. He should have gone for it, but again, it's just a bad play call. It's boneheaded too. They've already stuffed that same situation.
Yeah, I see why people get frustrated. Our Kentucky fans get frustrated with Stoops. You've seen that. That chart they put out on Twitter, how bad did we get beat? And Paul postgame was like, you're going to see us on the far end of that because Kentucky beat us thoroughly in every metric. And sure enough, same thing. But just to blow that at the end, it's got to be devastating for Kentucky. The only argument that I could think of for not going for it on fourth, if you weren't confident, is that, overtime is a red zone off and we can't score in the red zone. So maybe you go, okay, kick the field goal. We know Texas is going to kick a field goal, or get penalties, and then we'll live for second OT. But generally had no problem. I just would have done something on the perimeter or something rolling out, something that gave me a lateral pass option that Boley could then turn into a quick run if need be.
Yeah, he was doing a good job running the ball. So they should have involved his athleticism, his leg, and he's a big, strong kid too. So that's a guy that you can meet at the 1-yard line and get carried in.
Yeah, every other third and short, they ran mesh and it worked. Like we went man when they spread us out and then ran mesh. Why'd they go away from that? But whatever. I appreciate you, Mark Stoops.
Well, even on that Boley run where he got that touchdown, it was pretty good design, because I was trying to pay attention. Was that just a great scramble? And what they did was they were in the boundary and they took two receivers and they lined them up in a way that wouldn't make any sense if you were going to pass to them. it was just to get guys out of the way. He looked to the play side. Maybe he's really searching for a route, but he's able to just look for 2 seconds and then turn out, and then there's a wide open lane, and the receivers put their hands up like when he's starting his run. So to me, that looked kind of like a designed backside option, and I hadn't really seen that style of play yet. So I don't even think that touchdown run was, just pure luck. I think they had some advantage. All 22 is a tape version in which you can see all 22 players. So broadcast, they'll zoom in and you'll miss what happens with the safeties or the receivers. All 22, it's this very wide angle. You can see the whole field at all times. And then they also have the angle from the end zone. So you're seeing it from behind, meaning you can actually see what's going on with the offensive and defensive lines. So it's a much better way of understanding what's going on because you can actually see what's going on. You need it. Where can we get the all 22? If I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Deep dive.
You can get on deep dive. That's where you can see it. All right, what are the vibes moving forwards, fellas? It seems a little bit like everyone's very sad, anticipating losses. Essentially,
well, so they've been in this situation. Well, I mean, this wasn't a loss, but similar situation where they couldn't wait to get back on the field after the Florida game, but they were getting up for OU. Now they have to go back on the road again it's a sneaky, challenging game. Mississippi State is better under Jeff Lebby. I thought they played well last year, considering they went 2-10. I mean, they played with heart. They played with effort. They never gave up on the season. They just took Florida with Napier's last game, obviously, to what they lost by 2 to a team that Texas, the transitive property doesn't really work, but that's a talented Florida game, a Florida team, no matter what their record is. And so Mississippi State is going to be a real challenge. Shapen is still healthy. That guy, this seems like the latest he's ever been healthy in a season.
Yeah.
And he's a steadying veteran hand for that offense. He's very important to them. So I haven't really done a deep dive yet on the defense because I want to see what the defense is going to do to the Texas offense. I mean, I have an idea, but
their defense is pretty good.
Yeah,
that's what's weird.
Yeah, they have been pretty good. Jeff Lebby, I think Jeff Lebby's a good coach. Now it's going to be tough to move upward from Mississippi State, but he's a good coach.
Well, it's Coleman Hutzler. He's the one running their defense, and I really liked him at his time at Texas. I thought he did a good job.
That's the guy that a lot of the best defensive coaches have signed off on. He's a coach for Saban. He was good at Texas in his 1 year. I thought it would have made sense to retain him before we knew who the DC would be. But yeah, he's good.
Yeah. So their defense is way better. Remember last year they were like last in everything, like pass defense and all that. That's not the case this year. They have pretty good defense. What's interesting is when you think Mississippi State, and people have mentioned it, and you should, they have a lot of outside speed. They have a lot of people that can run low 4.3s. Yeah, but they're a rushing offense.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part. Like they're very dedicated to the run. They've been pretty successful with the run. And then their passing offense has big issues and like pass protection and all of that stuff. They have some big holes there, but they have these such fast guys and they run so much that they slip by you. Now, do they always hit them? No, because they don't have a crazy explosivity rate, but they will get by your defenders. Can they hit it? And if they do, and you've got the vengefulness of Brennan Thompson,
Yeah, right.
He wants nothing more. He wants nothing more, dude. And so, yeah, they have some really fast player. Anthony Evans from
Thomas Judson.
Yeah.
Thomas Judson and then to Georgia. Yeah, very fast guy.
Yeah, he was at Georgia, very fast. Brennan Thompson. So they have some real speed. And, you can't sleep on anyone with this Texas offense. And so, yeah, Lebby's going to be a good test. I hate Starkville. I have trouble even watching the broadcast. I hate those bells so much.
Cowbells?
Dude, it drives me insane.
Wow.
Like, I could never be a fan of that team just because I could never go to a game. Like, I cannot stand that constant sound. So, yeah, Mississippi State is not a rollover, and Lebby's going to do a good job. And last year, it was one of those things where, like, look, you don't have the horses, but they fought valiantly, right? And they didn't give up the game plan. They're like, we're going to run on you. And they did it the whole time. So, no games are guaranteed. And Texas is going to have to figure it out. And also, we're due eventually, too, for an offensive pop. So one
Yeah.
of these games, the offense will have a good game. It's just when is it? You know?
Sarks should play the Mississippi State game from last year for Arch.
Yeah. Well, this is someone made a point. I can't remember on what show I was watching, but this is his first like repeat I've seen you before game.
Mhm.
So I don't know what that means. That's very weak analysis, but it is a little interesting. There's a little side note, right? And so,
Well, yeah, Mississippi State's probably wondering, how are we seeing a lesser version of the guy we saw last year?
yeah, great point. Kamario Taylor, freshman QB, using that dude's like their Cam Newton. So they bring him in as a wildcat. He's a huge athletic quarterback. And man, he's a special looking athlete. And they bring him so Shapen has to do all the work. And then when they get down to the red zone, they'll just bring Kamario Taylor in, and he's huge, man. So they do some interesting stuff. Of course, Shapen is Shapen, and he's done this ever since Baylor. This is gonna be famous last words. I know it right now, but he doesn't ever finish, and so it's like he always makes the final mistake at the end, and they lose it.
Yeah.
So
You better knock on some wood over there, buddy.
that's why I said famous last words, right? So there's my jinx, but
It just happened
he's
this Saturday.
always done that. But to be fair, he's done that against Texas too, right? So he's blown it. He'll like throw that pick or something weird happens at the end with him. But hey, quarterbacks having a remarkable way of getting right versus us sometimes. So it's tough. All right,
no cover
guys.
3. No cover 3 this week, please. They're going to attack the seams like crazy.
Yep. Kentucky did too. I'm surprised they don't attack our seams more often because it's like that's where the weakness is, and then they don't attack the perimeter.
Nope.
We've had real perimeter issues. Eventually, a coach is just going to spam it, and the defense is going to have a rough day, but no one puts it together for whatever reason. I don't know why. All right, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. We did win. So we did win. And it's going to be another kind of rough week at the office, but we got great content coming your way, guys. So, well, check out the shorts, guys. I know you like them. If you haven't been a shorts viewer, wade into that style of content and check those out as well. This has been IT Live, and it's brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Goodbye.